It might have been more likely if that undead creature had appeared right away. But Keno had almost lost her sense of time by the time it had shown up on the order of years, at the very least. Would that not mean it was very likely to be unrelated to the incident? Also, regarding its reason for coming, surely the most likely reason would be because it wanted to take up residence here, no? As an undead being itself, it would not be attacked by low-level undead, and the living would avoid this region. If one set aside the problem of the living attacking it, would a place like this not be the most comfortable living environment for one of the undead? However, he did not intend to tell Keno about those theories. There was no way she could not have noticed something which even Suzuki Satoru had surmised right away. It was very likely that she was still wanted to believe that said undead creature was the mastermind behind all this. That was why she had apologized to Suzuki Satoru for mistaking him for that entity. She still wanted to believe that there was a way to save everyone. Suzuki Satoru looked through the stacks of books in the room. All of them were stained, which was a sign of her hard work. However, she had probably clung to such a belief because she understood that she could not save them, or because her research had not shown her a way to do so. Her narration of what happened that day was very detailed. The first half of her story, her description of the day's events, was very specific, and she had clearly illustrated the situation, even going so far as to include her own feelings at the time. In contrast, the latter half of her story after she had become undead, seemed to blend together. Perhaps to her, there had been little change in the days after that, so there was little for her to talk about. But of course they would be different. The last time she was human was during breakfast. Those were the most brilliant memories she had, which was why she could speak of them at such length and in such detail. Suzuki Satoru stroked the staff of Ainz gown. He heard Keno gasp in surprise, but he did not mind. He felt a hard coldness. Yes, that's how it is. He could understand how Keno felt. Keno felt the same way about the city which contained her parents, and which had helped raise her as Suzuki Satoru did about the guild Ainz gown. If there was someone who could help Suzuki Satoru return to those brilliant days, he would gladly prostrate himself before them and beg for their help. The feeling which rose up in him was called guilt. It was simple enough to say that she was wrong for expecting so much out of Suzuki Satoru. However, yes, Suzuki Satoru said as he squeezed his staff. Keno-san. He saw Keno's shoulders twitch, but Suzuki Satoru ignored it and continued speaking. If destroying that undead creature will reverse the transformation of the people in this city, then I will gladly assist you. Suzuki Satoru's earlier theory had been based purely in his knowledge of Yggdrasil. If that undead being really was the culprit, then it might be possible to restore the people by defeating him or using some other means. If every living thing in a city had turned undead, then one could not conclude who could have done this. If it is as you believe, Keno-san, and the opposition is someone who can turn an entire city of people undead, then surely they will not be easy enemies. For that reason, I feel that capturing them in one piece will be difficult, but annihilating them might still be possible. As Suzuki Satoru told Keno that, he mentally chided himself, are you a moron? At best, an undead being similar to Suzuki Satoru would be an overlord. If all of his Yggdrasil knowledge was applicable, he might be able to think of a way to deal with them. However, in this world it was entirely possible that the local equivalent of an overlord was a level 1000 plus opponent. That said, it would seem it was not likely that this opponent would surpass Suzuki Satoru's expectations. The reason for that was because of the way Keno described her parents. Her father, heralded in song and story, was able to cast 4th tier spells, while her mother, who could cast 5th tier spells, was considered a genius. From that point of view, there was little change with Yggdrasil, or rather, there were more weaklings here than in Yggdrasil. That said, whether he could beat them remained to be seen. His self-mockery had been directed at the foolish words he said, after he had equated experience at a game to real-life combat experience, in addition to his lack of knowledge. If possible, he would like to take Keno away from this city for a while, and contact people in this world who were familiar with the undead, in order to gain as much information on his foe as possible, before preparing a flawless strategy with which to challenge his adversary. For starters, he did not know the power of his opposition. Perhaps Keno had only seen the one undead creature, but it might have continued improving its fighting strength within the city after that. In that case, his first priority was to collect information, and then he would need to spend a lot of time and effort on preparations. However, he did not think Keno would accept that idea. Surely a girl who refused to leave a city full of the terrifying undead would not accept a simple let's get out of here from a third party that easily. Still, it was worth a try. However, I would like you to think carefully about this. Is it really alright to destroy it? It's possible that even if you destroyed that undead creature, the townsfolk might not return to normal, no. Keno shook her head and pulled out a book from the piles of literature. The book stacked on top of it collapsed and fell, but she brought it back without a second glance, and opened a page to show Suzuki Satoru. His first thought was it's not Japanese after all. As Suzuki Satoru fumbled for a magic item, Keno pointed to a passage in the book and read it out. This part says that resurrecting a slain undead creature requires extremely powerful resurrection spells, and even after resurrection, they will still be undead. But if the master undead is wiped out, the possibility exists that his victims may be restored, if they are lucky. That's what's written here. For the most part, this was the same as Yggdrasil. However, in order for an Yggdrasil character who had become undead to become a human again, they would need a world-class item. Well, it was not so in this world. The more he realized the differences between both worlds, the more Keno's importance grew. Damn it, Suzuki Satoru thought. If Keno had answered, maybe they might not turn back. Suzuki Satoru could have guided the conversation to then, let's not destroy it first and find another way. Since we don't know enough, why don't we leave this city for a while and head outside to gather information? That was how he had planned it. That plan had gone awry. Still, it could not be helped. In that case, he would just have to destroy it. Destroy that undead being. Of course, only if I can manage it. I understand. In that case, yes, there has to be payment. Yes. And the payment shall be, I want to know all sorts of things. I want to know everything you know. The look on Keno's face seemed to say, huh? Will you be satisfied with that? Yes. I feel that the knowledge you have stored up until now is very valuable. Suzuki Satoru turned his eyes from the book Keno was holding to the stacks of other books in this room. What he wanted was basic information about the world, but Keno would probably be disturbed if he said as much. Therefore, he had feigned an attitude which would make her mistakenly believe he was looking for magical knowledge. Given Keno's reaction, she had completely bought it. Alright, but all that knowledge couldn't save everyone, you know. It's fine. Even if that's the case, it's still valuable to me. Thank you, Keno muttered, and bowed to him. Also, any money or magic items you could spare would also be very good, Suzuki Satoru said, as he nonchalantly produced a Yggdrasil gold coin. Can I spend these in this country? Keno took the coin and spun it round and round in her hands, before returning it to Suzuki Satoru. Yes, you can. Or at least, you could. Well, I don't know exactly how much it's worth without checking its gold content. I see. Then, I'd be happy to obtain more gold coins like these which are usable in the surrounding region. I, Keno Fazur Sinvern, do hereby swear to you that I shall pay you whatever you desire, Satoru-sama. Suzuki Satoru quietly sucked in a breath. Such was Keno's regal, princess-like demeanor that it established her as superior even to the most successful salesman that Suzuki Satoru knew. Then, I am very grateful. Thus our compact is formed. In that case. In order to learn how to use his might, he would need to learn how Yggdrasil's magic interacted with the magic of this world. By the way, Keno-san. I should mention that I can cast spells of the 10th tier. I see. Keno smiled in a way that seemed mildly distressed. Why is she smiling like that? Aren't you considered a genius if you can cast 5th tier spells? I've gone and doubled that, you know. Why are you so calm? Is it because she's undead? After becoming undead, Suzuki Satoru had experienced how his emotions would be suppressed once they reached a certain threshold. Did the same thing apply to Keno as well? Don't tell me 10th tier spells are nothing much. What if the tiers start at 10 and get more powerful as the numbers grow smaller? Wait, wouldn't that make me a 1st tier caster? Is there a 3rd tier spell called Fireball? Huh, yes. There is such a spell, although I don't know how to use it. Your parents were able to cast 4th and 5th tier spells, so they shouldn't have problems casting it, right? Mother might not have learned it, but my father could cast it. I see. Incidentally, the spell lightning is also of the 3rd tier, right? Keno indicated that this was so. So it would seem spells in this world occupied the same tiers as Yggdrasil. In other words, Suzuki Satoru's knowledge of magic could be directly applied. This was excellent news, but he had to verify it. In that case, Keno-san, could you cast one of your spells? How about this? Could you cast a 1st tier spell on me? An attack spell would be best. It was only when he saw Keno's white eyes that he realized he had not explained in sufficient detail. I would like to see if my powers are functioning as normal. I would like to use your attack spells as an indicator, Keno-san. After all, it would be troublesome they were only similar in name and tier, but completely different in effects and destructive power. I see. I understand. Keno gathered up her determination and stood up, then faced Suzuki Satoru.